Theme tune. Turn the volume up. Episode 2. Well, hi and welcome back. Very, very glad that you're still listening. Can't believe it. In this episode, I'm actually really excited about this one. We've got a bit of a campaign going. Really, really like you to get involved as well, if you can. It's called Medcoms is for me. So we've got a hashtag Medcoms is for me, and this is all about encouraging people from all walks of life to consider Medcoms as a career option. So I think STEM, so science, technology, engineering and maths, and of course medicine, medical science and medical communications does fit inside this bracket. Sometimes has been associated with issues whereby certain groups of people can be relatively lacking. And this, of course, is a very sad situation, and there have been efforts to improve this. One example of a great project that has been tackling diversity within STEM is this fantastic initiative called Soapbox Science. This has actually been going for just about 10 years now. So I'm going to start actually with an interview with the founders of this project. This is Dr. Natalie Petroli and Professor Fearsome. And what they've been doing in Soapbox Science is they've been challenging the stereotypes of what a scientist is and introducing the world to more women and non-binary people from the sector. So this was a project based at the Zoological Society of London and it aims to bring science to the streets so that as many people as possible can meet and learn from their local researchers. So it literally did start out as this initiative where they literally got people to come out on the streets and chat about it, hence the name Soapbox Science. It's now in pretty much every university that you would care to visit. It's a massive project, and it's happened in 59 cities now, in 14 countries, reaching nearly 250,000 people. So this is massive progress, and they've done a fantastic job. Kicked off in 2011, so as I said, about 10 years now that this has been going, which is just amazing. So I'm going to kick off with an interview from these two. We're then going to turn to one of our very own principal medical writers, Dr. Laura Laul. Really, really pleased to chat to her on this episode as well. Going to be talking about how she came to be in medical communications, and maybe I'll bore you with my own backstory as well, shall I? I don't know. Maybe I'll let you off with that one. And now, as always, because this is going to be a bit of a recurring thing, and I hope that's evident by now, but I am going to be asking all guests to provide their suggestions, nay, their orders for your playlist, because that's right, it is my mission to make sure that you have just a killer playlist to listen to when you return to work after finishing listening up here, of course. And I'll be popping in a mystery guest at the end as well. Well, that's enough chat from me for now. Let's kick off. And as I said, we're going to start with this interview with Dr. Natalie Petroli and Professor Fearsome. Absolute pleasure to have you on this episode with us, ladies. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Natalie Petroli. I'm a scientist at the Zoological Society of London.
And my name is Fearsome Sumner, and I'm a professor of behavioural ecology at UCL.
Oh, Fearsome and Natalie, thank you so much. Very, very warm welcome to the show. Absolutely fantastic platform we're talking about today. And 10 years on, this is, of course, for Soapbox Science. And I just say to start with, I just think this movement has been so brilliant because I'm pretty sure every single university you go to now, this is always so pressed, isn't it? That women and non-binary people, and indeed everybody, need to get up and talk about science to the public and get everybody excited about science. And that's really a movement that started with Soapbox Science. So I just think it's this brilliant movement. So, it'd be great just to get you both to kind of reflect a bit on this 10 years on.
Yeah, well, so we've been thinking about this. One of the things that is worth saying is that when we started, people didn't systematically think it was a brilliant idea. I remember vividly when we started, people telling me things such as, yeah, it would be great, but actually it would be better if you also put men on soapboxes, not just women. So it's quite nice to have gone from 10 years on where it was a struggle just to explain that we needed a platform to showcase diversity, to talk about diversity in science, to provide role models, to show that scientists come in all shape, form, color, whatever you think, to now where we're starting to say, well, actually, there's a lot of people that see the value of this and that have engaged with it. And I mean, they have engaged, we're talking 14 countries, 59 cities. It's really reached out, and we hope it reach even wider, but resonate with a lot of people.
Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. And I guess it comes back to, the absolute essential requirement to encourage, young girls and all people to actually think about, STEM as career pathways, because, I just think it's very sad to think that actually, historically, it might have been the case that actually people were discouraged from going down those career paths just because they might not see representation and think, well, it's not for me.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's one of the things that we hope that Soapbox does is it provides those role models. So even if you're not particularly encouraged to do science as a child by your family or by your particular school or your teachers, if you happen to see female scientists and understand what they're doing and see it as a normal thing that women do, we think that it's much more likely that a girl might think, that could be me one day. I quite fancy that. Wow, I'd like to be like her. Yes. So it's all about providing role models that are accessible.
Not only to the kids, but also the one that come to science, to show them it's possible to have a career, it's possible to stay. It's a community, a good community to build a career. Because what we have as a problem too, at least in science such as biology, is that women do go for a science job in biology, but they don't stay. And sometimes that has also to do with a role model. So, someone showing you that it's possible to have a family, it's possible to be happy, it's possible to have a good, fulfilling career in science.
And I think our Soapbox Science events, the speakers or the organisers have got their families with them anyway. So as well as seeing the scientists, they often, they'll also see that the scientists have got their kids with them.
Yes,
we've had some scientists give their talks with like their baby on their hips and standing on a soapbox with the baby. That's brilliant.
Oh, thank you so much, Beth. I'd love, if it's okay with you, as I was thinking about, potentially helping out, especially let's say there's, some parents at home listening in and they're thinking, oh, my daughter might be really interested in hearing a bit more about this. I wonder if you've got any kind of handy resources that we can point people towards. This might not be a question, obviously, that you can answer off the top of your head, but if there is anything that you could point us towards, that would be amazing.
Oh yeah, no, I think I would really recommend to visit our Soapbox Science website, because in there you find link to all our speakers and little chat on YouTube that they have done to present different science now at work. You also find information about where are the next events and which one might be close to you, and then it provides you with a lot of different. There's a blog with a lot of discussion and thinking about career building in science and what was the hurdle. There's a lot of tips. So I think that this would work well as a first portal to think about a career in science, or to look for events and try to get inspired that way. Do join us on social media, because we are on Twitter, we are on Facebook, we are on Instagram, we are on YouTube. Any kind of social media you can think of, we're probably there. And it's always Soapbox Science. And I think that's a cool community to join and to follow up on what we're doing.
Well, thank you very much again to Dr. Natalie Peteroli and Professor Fearsome Sumner for coming on the podcast to talk all about their mission to challenge those stereotypes of what a scientist is with that fantastic initiative, Soapbox Science. Don't forget to check that out across socials. And of course, returning to our kind of main topic, medcoms, because of course we are a medical communications agency. That's super, super relevant for us. So I think the kind of key message really to take away is that, is medcoms for me? Yes, it is. If you want it to be, it's there for you. Consider it as your career option and stay in it. If you're already in there and you're enjoying it, don't leave. Don't leave. Stay, progress. It's fantastic. All right. Now, next up, as promised, we're going to be talking to our very own principal medical writer, Dr. Laura Laul. We're going to be covering kind of her backstory, how she got into medical communications. Hopefully it might resonate with some of you out there, or indeed if you're not a medical writer yourself, but you've been considering this might, help to kind of inspire you and make you kind of think about making that jump yourself. Before we turn to Laura, though, I think it's time we did do one thing. It was promised, and you're probably thinking, where is it, Ben? You promised this. I know, it's the song suggestions for your playlist. I haven't forgotten. It's coming up right now. Let's see what Dr. Pettiroli and Professor Sumner are going to add to it, shall we? Here goes.
As for the song choice, I'll go with Johnny Be Good by
nice.
Berry.
Nice. Thank you, Natalie. Yeah, perfect. And Syrian, what about yourself?
So it's so funny that Natalie chose Johnny Be Good, because I was thinking, what song can I choose? And I have a confession. So and it's timely because this happened at the weekend. I play the keyboard in our village band.
Oh, yes.
So I'm giving a shout out to our village band. It's called the Stud Muffins. It's a dreadful name, but it's existed for decades. And we actually did play Johnny Be Good on Saturday. But I was going to choose a slightly more unusual song, which is called Home by Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros. And it's kind of musically very interesting, which is why I chose it.
Oh, fantastic. Well, thank you very much, both. I think people are not only going to be searching for Soapbox Science, but they're going to be checking out that band now, Stud Muffins, and be Googling it.
I don't
get
think
a
you
playlist.
can find us online.
Oh, no.
We're just a bunch of rather unskilled people.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much both for your time. We really appreciate it. And of course, I really urge our listeners to go ahead and check out Soapbox Science across all of the platforms. And thank you for your time today, both. Really absolute pleasure to have you on the show with us. On top of your song choices, might have to actually end up playing the Indiana Jones theme tune as well now, because heard it mentioned a couple of times. What do you think?
Yes.
Couple of storming choices there for your playlist. Make sure you go away and download those right away. I know what you're going to be doing. You're going to be going away and trying to find Professor Sumner's band, aren't you? I can sense it. Okay, it's that time. It's time to turn to our next very, very special guest. It's our very own principal medical writer, Dr. Laura Laul. We're going to start by asking her how she got into medcoms. Here was what she had to say.
My story was that I was probably just coming to the end of the second year of my PhD, and one of my friends who was a little bit further along the road to me said, "Oh, hey, there's this postgrad careers event coming up next week. Would you like to come with me?" And I just kind of remember thinking, well, career, surely we all just go and we finish our PhD and then we move into doing a postdoc. And I just hadn't thought that far ahead, or really just considered, what I could possibly do as a job. So went to this careers affair, and what was really funny about it was my friend, she talked to lots of people on lots of different stands and came away convinced, no, I want to stay in academia, I want to carry on with my research. Whereas I kind of had the opposite. I think basically was going along the tables looking for free swag, and got to one table that just happened to be talking about medical writing, and they said to me, "Oh, have you heard of medical writing?" And I said, "No." I had no idea what this was all about. And we had a discussion, and the more we talked about it, the more I realized that it was really aligned to kind of the things that I enjoyed doing during my PhD, which was, when the experiments were done, being able to collate the data, put it into a format that told a story. That was the bit that kind of interested me the most.
Yeah, that's really interesting you say that. I think it's very much one of those skills, I think, that people probably have without really realising it. When they for example, if they're doing a PhD and they actually find, I'm really enjoying the kind of writing up side. You might get some people who hate that kind of stuff, but then if you're the kind of person who likes that, maybe that should be something to think, actually that's a skill that can lead to a proper career path. So nurture it.
Yes, exactly. So I didn't realise, I think, how much worries about my future in academia were weighing me down until I had those discussions at the fair. And I actually came away feeling really positive, properly for the first time in weeks. The way that I can kind of describe it, it was a bit like I was on a travelator at an airport, and it was just pushing me towards something. And I didn't even consider stepping off it and looking elsewhere. And to realise that I could just take the parts that I enjoyed the most and do them was a revelation. So that made me feel real really hopeful for kind of my next steps after I finished my PhD. And yeah, I think you're absolutely right that a lot of people who are, you know, in the thick of it with their academic research, they could be really enjoying it, but then they are really immersed in their own work. And I think when you're, especially if you're working in something like I was in, immunology, where you're looking at things in, almost like microscopic detail, people, they forget to kind of like step back and look at the bigger picture. Like, where does my research fit in? Why should it matter to other people? Why is it important? And those kinds of things. And I think it can be hard to see the big picture when you're looking through a flow cytometer and looking at like everything like at a cellular level.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I think a kind of a recurring kind of theme throughout what you're kind of saying, and I think this does come on to my next question, which was going to focus down on what you really love and enjoy in medcoms. And actually you're kind of touching on that already with it kind of seems to me like what you absolutely love is just telling a story with the data, taking something that's potentially extremely complicated and potentially very confusing, and actually coming up with something interesting and relevant to people to actually listen to and understand.
Every hour of the day we're bombarded with messages, whether it's through advertising or say in the case of a doctor, they might be reading a lot of papers, they see, they're very busy, people, bombarded with emails. Your job is to cut through that noise. You need to make it as easy as possible for them to pull the thread of your story and to jump in and actually care about what you have to say to them. And it's kind of the thing that we, I think is, in medcoms, we sort of have to help our clients with, because they are coming into it and thinking, right, we want this to happen. We want, whether it's like they want to increase awareness of a particular disease, or whether they're launching a new drug and it's going to be positioned as this new treatment option, and maybe it has some advantages over the existing treatments on the market, but they're often coming to the table with assumptions of what their target audience is thinking and feeling, and where they're currently at in that journey. And I think what we need to do as writers is obviously figure out where the target audience is actually at and kind of meet them there. It's almost like we're kind of the bridge between the client and the target audience. So we need to sort of take almost what the client is offering and pass it on to the target audience. It is a really interesting role because of that, because you're almost like the conduit between the two different worlds.
Yeah, thank you, Laura. That's fantastic. I think that's a really nice way for people to kind of think about, what our role was all about, really. So thank you for that. I won't force you to answer too many more questions. I just think a nice one to finish on. I don't know if you kind of want to do this one. We don't have to, but I just thought it might be nice if you did have any kind of words off the top of your head. Just for anyone out there thinking about perhaps getting into medcoms, this might be someone, I don't know, who's perhaps still doing their PhD or perhaps doing their masters or whatever, and looking out there and thinking, oh, this medcom sounds interesting, or indeed they might be doing their A-levels still. I just wondered if you had any words of advice or just any words for those people to take on board. Doesn't matter if you don't. Just thought it might be quite nice if you did off the top of your head.
Yeah, I'll try and think of something good now, but I know that when I was at university, but both when I did my master's and my PhD, I wondered what possibly could I offer to in a career. And when you're young, as well, you feel like what perspective can I possibly bring? But the more that of myself that I've brought to my role, the more successful I've been, and the easier I found writing and reviewing for other people, and or going on client calls or helping to support younger team members. I think it was in Aladdin where the genie said, be yourself. And I think that's it's so corny and cliche, but it is true. I think just recognize the things that you enjoy and find a way to bring those into your future role. Know yourself and know your strengths, because I guess for me, I hadn't really considered my strengths in writing and how I can use those skills. I kind of just blindly went along with what I thought I was good at, but I think it's just trying to take clues about what you enjoy. So so think about maybe your favorite subject at uni. What what did you enjoy about that subject, and is there anything in the working world that you can anywhere in the working world that you can find that and kind of do that, because you'll do so much better when you're working within your, what I call your zone of genius, the things that you find most natural, and kind of your strengths, and just play to those strengths.
Yeah, thank you, Laura. I think that's some lovely words to finish on. So thank you for that. And I'm afraid it's time for the evil question. I did this to Carl as well, because it's quite harsh when there's absolutely no warning. But it's time. Right, are you ready for this? Time to recommend a song for the playlist today. It's harsh, I know, without any warning. But
oh my
have
gosh,
you got
okay.
a favourite tune that you think people should go away after listening to this, and they should just get it straight on their playlist?
Maybe, okay, so I recommend Let It Go from Frozen. It's all about sort of recognising what's inside of you and just letting it out, whether that's a big ball of ice or a unusually natural writing style.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you, Laura. I'm very impressed with the kind of link there as well. It was actually something kind of relevant, so I'm impressed with that.
Okay.
Let it go, can't hold it back anymore. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, anyway, that's another fantastic song choice, isn't it? Add that to your playlist. I mean, I don't think we even need to ask you. It's probably already in there, isn't it? Anyway, Laura, thank you so much for coming on this podcast to share your kind of backstory and what you enjoy about medical communication. So I really do hope that resonates with some of you out there. Even if you're a student, and that was some great advice from Laura there about just looking in your studies, finding out what you enjoy. And if writing is one of those things that you're really enjoying, look for some workplaces that will actually allow you to explore that further, develop it, and crucially, build yourself a fantastic career out of it. So thanks, Laura. Fantastic to have you. Make sure you have a look for Laura on LinkedIn. So just search for Laura Laul. She's got some, a very strong LinkedIn game, should we say. She posts some great stuff. So do check her out. Thank you, Laura. Okay, we're going to come towards the end of this episode. Can't quite believe that already. It's come around quickly, hasn't it? But as promised, I'm going to leave you with a bit of a mystery guest now. And actually, I won't add it to this podcast because it's already available online. This was done for some of my radio stuff on Coast FM. But we've actually got an interview with the producer and the director of, are you ready? Frozen 2. How very relevant for Laura's song choice. Go and check it out. We might drop the link on our socials if you like, so you can check that out there. But just search for it if not. It's on YouTube. Anyway, that's it from me. So thank you very much indeed for joining us. We're going to aim to make these just about 20 minutes each episode. Nice and sweet, not too long. So do make sure you watch out for episode 3 that will be coming soon. But for now, it's goodbye. And I do hope that this episode has helped make you realise that Medcoms is for you. Please use our hashtag Medcoms is for me. And let's spread the word. Bye for now.